So as you know, I've been posting videos on Instagram and YouTube, and you've seen some of these videos, and I just wanted to just tell you guys how incredible it is to have more conversations and really share with you guys some of the things that I journal about, have conversations about. And really, I'm just kind of pulling a few more chairs up to the table. This is nothing formal or anything like that. This is just us having more conversations that I think will really help people in tight spots in life, maybe just wisdom for future reference, something that you're going to be walking into your future and having to work through, that I can kind of plant a seed and prepare you for that. So I just thank you guys for hanging out with us. As you know, I love to lead worship and sing, but this too is a passion. I love helping people and adding value to your lives. So let's hang out. Let's do this. So I was talking to my friend the other day, a good buddy, Jeff Jenkins, pastors Anchor Church in McKinney, and he was commenting on the post that I made about peace. And so I was thinking about, I think something may have happened that kind of got this whole thought going in my head. But I think many of us, when it comes to what we think peace is, we say things like, I'm protecting my peace. And there's songs about it, if you don't bring me peace, I'm getting rid of it in 2023. Like anything that don't give me peace. And I feel like there are so many people who are actually walking away from things that God actually put in their lives because they think it's disrupting their peace. And now, though mental illness is real, a lot of people are claiming to protect themselves from mental illnesses. And what they're doing is they're removing people, they're leaving jobs because they're saying, I got to protect my mental and all of this. And in reality, the things that they're disconnecting from, the people they're divorcing, the relationships they're cutting off, the environments, the communities they're disconnecting themselves from, actually has nothing to do with their peace. Here's something that we've got to realize. First of all, people act like everybody else is the problem and they're never disrupting anybody else's peace. That's the first thing, which is kind of weird. So I guess you're just the most peaceful person. But that aside, wherever your community is, that's where your conflict will be. Think of this. There are all these statistics on, it got popular maybe in the 80s and the 90s about black on black crime. But the reality is crime happens amongst people who are within proximity to each other. So there's, you got white on white crime, black on black, or wherever you're from, people offend the people who are in proximity to them. If you're at church, you got Christian on Christian crime. Because in church is where people, if you're at church, you're going to get offended by people at church. And so you cannot avoid offense. You cannot avoid conflict. And what most people are calling protection to maintain their peace is just them avoiding conflict. Here's an example. What someone does something, and instead of you having a very mature conversation about this and doing the Christian thing and saying, hey, what you did offended me, like that really hurt me. Instead of having that conversation, what you end up doing is saying, you know what, I ain't got time for this. I'm leaving. I'm moving on because this is disrupting my peace. When in reality, what seemed to be a peace disruptor was probably a character building opportunity. Because you only have as much peace as you have character. If you don't have it, if you want peace, you need to be in situations that actually grow your character. And character is not your ability just to behave good. Character is your ability to be in community with people and to resolve conflict well. It's integrity. It is being hurt, but not adding fuel to the fire. It is knowing how to love somebody through a very difficult time. It's actually learning how to be empathetic to somebody who just offended you. And realizing that, first of all, this ain't all about my peace. And I think what also we must remember is peace is not fragile. Because peace comes from Jesus. And Jesus is not fragile. And when we disconnect from necessary relationships and parts of our lives to protect our peace, what we're saying is, I've got to protect Jesus. Because Jesus can't handle this conflict. When in reality, you're saying, I don't want to be like Jesus in this conflict, so I'm going to leave, and my cover is I'm protecting my peace. The more I thought about this, the more I realized when you read through the Bible, God is actually more disruptive than you think people are. Because God always introduces things into our lives that disrupt our peace. Do you think, how peaceful was it for Mary to be impregnated before she was married? That was very disruptive. It's not peaceful the way God does things to us, because we don't understand God's plan. His ways and his thoughts are much higher than ours, but you've got to understand the nature of God. And my point in saying that is this, that some of the things you think are destroying or disrupting your peace actually came from God. God actually put that person in your life, not to disrupt your peace, but to help you understand what true peace is. Because you have to confront issues in your life so you can get to peace. The gap between where you are right now and the peace you like to have is the wall of conflict between you. And so, I believe that we've got to get out of this cancel culture kind of mentality where we're so quick to cut somebody off. Listen, and many of us, especially during the pandemic, many of us were isolated, and it wasn't a decision we made. But then there are people pre and post pandemic who are isolating themselves, and it creates the same effect, because you were never meant to be alone. God said it himself. It's not good that man be alone. It's not good for you to be alone. And you're actually better off mitigating a conflict with somebody you love than being by yourself. I've been married for 20 years. And I thought I was getting married to have peace. I found out once I got married that I was getting married to confront the things that actually prevented peace. I ran from that for years. My wife was a mirror. Literally, God will put people in your life to show you where you need to be focused on. And there were some seasons where it seemed like my wife had nothing but negative things to say. But in reality, I was negative. So when you're looking in the mirror, you're kind of getting back what you're giving the mirror. The mirror can't give you nothing but whatever you give it. And the reality is, you may have heard this, that marriage is not about happiness, it's about holiness. But the reality is, your mate is there to help you be better. In actuality, your mate is there to help you live out your greatest and highest potential. And what most of us think peace is, if we were more honest about it, we would say that peace is the absence of tension. When in reality, peace is the presence of God in the middle of tension. It's like in the middle. And so I feel like I'm talking to my peers. I'm talking to anybody, wherever you are in life. Before you leave the marriage, buying into this lie that if I leave this marriage, the next one will be better. And the challenge with that is, you didn't know how to do this one. What makes you think that leaving this one will make the next one better? Well, second-time marriages actually have a higher divorce rate. So the reality is, And this is something the Holy Spirit told me when my wife and I were really, really struggling. And I was questioning whether or not, are we going to make it? Is it even worth it? Like, what are we doing? Like, all we do is fight, and we're going back and forth. And the Holy Spirit told me, actually, Michael, you're closer to what you want in this marriage than you would be out of it. Because what people don't realize is when you destroy the relationship you have, in many instances where there's great potential there and there's a lot of good still present and God can use it, you've actually introduced the crisis into a situation that just had conflict. And for me, I learned that my wife wasn't the problem. I learned that what tension is asking me to do is to grow up. And I'll tell you right now, the more I embrace what tension's demanding of me, the more peace I have. The next level for me is not more money. It's not a season where I get to call all the shots, because that level don't exist. More money, more problems. Wherever level you get to, you're going to meet a whole new version of the devil you just left. It's just a cycle of life, because you move from responsibility to responsibility. If you're climbing the ladder of success and whatever it is, the next level is called responsibility. You got your weight up. Absolutely. There's more weight to carry there. So what actually is the benefit in going to the next level? The next level is not about the benefits of money or influence or connections or any of that. It is a higher level of understanding who I really am. That's what the next level is for me. Like when I'm leveling up, I'm going to the next level of authenticity. I'm going to the next level of peace, because I'm not going to waste my time in this season arguing with people who don't matter. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to allow the enemy to terrorize me emotionally over a situation that's not even critical to my purpose, because I know who I am. That's a next level kind of living. Like, that's a next level way of expressing life and doing life and loving people, being patient enough to let things actually play out, because you may be planning an exit a little bit too soon. And I'll say this for my marriage, it has been absolutely far more than I ever thought it could have been. But that was only after I embraced what the tension was demanding of me. I grew up. I stopped making everything a big issue. I learned to accept the faults of others because I've had faults of my own. I learned to love people and empathize with them because I actually need the exact same thing. Peace comes from Jesus. It's not the absence of problems. It's not the absence of people. It's not the absence of conflict. It's the presence of Jesus and a revelation of who he is and then who you are, and understanding that peace is resilient because it comes from Jesus.